This is a show for grown-ups.
And they say bad words.
And they say bad words.
Say final warning.
Final warning.
Hello and welcome to the Pod of Blunders. My name is Nate Magnuski, and I am with a whole cavalcade of weirdos today, starting with my good friend Richard Sullivan.
Hey guys.
Corey Medeiros, and special guest, Spencer Campbell of Gila RPGs. Spencer, how the hell are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you all doing today?
Solid.
Doing great.
Spencer, what are you doing tonight?
We are going to play some Nova, which is a game that I've got up on Kickstarter right now. Basically, it's a action-packed, rules-like game. The sun exploded. It wiped out most of humanity, and we are rebuilding, and you all get to pilot these badass exosuit mechs called Sparks, who go out on missions trying to help defend the remnants of humanity and help with the rebuilding process as well. So it's a game that's all about action, feeling powerful, feeling badass, in a cool robot suit the whole time. Let's learn a little bit about who you all are going to be today. So I'll tell you all about the mission that you're going to go on in a little bit, but I want to learn about your characters first before I throw anything your way. So I sent you all the quick start. So for anybody who's listening, if you're interested in kind of following along, the quick start for Nova is up for free on the Kickstarter page and on itch. So the characters and everything that you're going to hear tonight, all those rules come straight from the quick start, if that's stuff you're interested in. So what I wanted to do is I want to hear about these Sparks. You all have taken a look at the quick start and have chosen which classes, aka Sparks, you want to be tonight. So I know that we've got a Warden, a Scorch, and a Pyre. And so I want to sort of briefly introduce the concepts of those Sparks and then hear what you've got in mind. I've got a couple questions for each of you here. So let's start with the Pyre. Who is going to be our Pyre tonight?
I'll be the Pyre tonight.
Wonderful. So the Pyre is the murder bot, essentially, of the Sparks. The Pyres were designed to defend humanity against all of the really dangerous threats that live outside of city walls and the few remaining cities that we have left. And the Pyres were built to slash first and ask questions later. You get to wield a big, fiery, dangerous sword, and you're all about dashing around and murdering anything that gets in your way. So let's learn a little bit about your Pyre. A couple things that I want to learn. One is you are a person inside, so you are a pilot of this exosuit. So you have two names. One is your pilot when you're not in the suit, and the other one is your call sign. Basically, what do people call you when you're out in the field? Because there are multiple Pyre suits in the world, but you are unique. And so what do people call you so that they know, oh, that's that Pyre when they see you out in the field?
I think they call me the lunatic.
Ah, okay.
Just lunatic, because in my mind, I'm a recovered moon cultist.
Oh, okay.
So I used to worship the moon. I was out in the shadow. Then I saw a greater light from the sun with the remnants of it that we found. And so I started worshiping that instead.
Okay. So do people know your real name, or do you kind of keep all of that under wraps?
Yeah,
are you
just
well
a lunatic.
regarded? Okay.
No, I think I'm well regarded in terms of the stuff I get done, because I'm willing to take on missions to spread the glory and the light of the sun, despite any danger it might bring to me. In terms of like my personality and like who I am inside, I don't think anyone really knows.
Gotcha. What are like one or two distinctive physical features about your Spark? What do people know that, that's a Pyre Spark? I mean, most Pyre Sparks have a really cool sword, but what makes the Lunatic's Pyre a little bit different?
Everything is as day glow and reflective as possible. Like it's a riot of colors. It's garish. The patterns are upsetting to look at for any length of time. It's just there's not any ounce of subtlety about it whatsoever.
All right. I love it. Yes. So you go out there. People know that the lunatic is out on a mission. You're not trying to hide that when you're out there.
Mm-mm.
I love it. All right, so that is our pyre. We'll learn more about Lunatic and their previous efforts and missions in a little bit, but I want to move on to our Scorch. Who is going to be playing the Scorch today?
I will be your Scorch.
Wonderful. So for those of you listening at home, the Scorch is essentially the wizard of Nova. They're sort of the caster. They're all about literally raining down fire from above. They can ignite foes on fire from a long distance, shoot columns of flame out of the ground. So if you want to be the one that's casting literal fire out of your hands, the Scorch is the one you want to play. So Scorch, I want to throw the same questions at you in terms of your call sign and whether or not you have a pilot name that people call you when you're out about in the city.
So my pilot name is Yellow Bedwetter.
Yellow Bedwetter.
Why?
Because it's like Pearl Jam song, except he's a pyromaniac. So I assume he was teased as a child about wetting the bed. So he's Yellow Bedwetter.
Okay, wonderful. And what is your call sign then when you're out on?
Well, that is my call sign.
Oh, that's your call sign.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm really Hank.
But people know you by your Scorch name, which is Yellow Bedwetter.
Yes.
Is it always the full thing? Do people ever try and abbreviate it?
If you try, I will burn your house down.
So it's got to be the whole thing.
Gotta
I love
be.
it. Excellent. So Scorches, again, are these classes that are all about summoning fire from their hands or just literally out of thin air. So what are some distinctive features about your exosuit that make everybody know that that's Yellow Bedwetter right there?
I take it as a pride of honor. I assume these suits are built to be as fire resistant as possible and to withstand great damage. So the burns on my exosuit tell the story that in my free time, I try to work up spells or equipment and chemical compounds to make myself as flammable as possible. So when people see me, they go, this guy can really burn some shit down. Look what he's done to his fire impervious suit.
Excellent. So you literally embrace the name Scorch. Like your whole suit is just scorched and burnt and flamed up.
Yes, it's my obsession.
I love it. Sweet. Excellent. All right. Well, we'll learn a little bit more about Yellow Bedwetter in a little bit, which means we have, last but certainly not least, our Warden. Corey, you're going to be playing our Warden tonight?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So what is your call sign and pilot name if you have one?
So my call sign is going to be Joker, just because. So my guy grew up on the streets, let's say, hanging out with all like the lower class folks, trying to just scrape by. He's just known to wisecrack to make everything feel a little better, while people were down in the dumps.
Okay, cool. So you were popular. You were well liked in.
Yeah, I'd say like I have a good following of crew. Like you walk in and everyone just like cheers when this guy comes in. Like, oh, there he is.
People are happy to see you. That's good.
Exactly.
Excellent. So Warden classes are our big, kind of beefy bruiser tank class. They can slam down shields to protect their allies. They literally just charge around the battlefield just like a bull, smashing into anything, picking up enemies and hurling them around like footballs. So Warden Sparks in particular, they're big, they're massive. So you've got plenty of opportunity to sort of customize your Spark, maybe more so compared to others. So what are some distinctive features about Joker's Spark?
Picture Tony Stark's first Iron Man suit, just scrapped together. It looks like it could fall apart, but it's actually well made. I like to take pieces from each mission I go on and slap it on to each part to just kind of keep adding to the bulk, add more protection, add some more like things I could use as shields to help protect just my crew. I'm all about trying to help out the little guy. So it kind of looks like it's been through some scraps, some rusty parts here and there, but each one has like a good backstory from just a prior mission.
Nice. So if people who are uninformed might look at Joker's suit and think, wow, that kind of looks pretty messed up. But if they know you, they know, oh, those are all trophies of like successful missions and things like that.
From maybe like I blew up an enemy and it was the leader of the group and I went and took part of his armor plating and took that off as a piece. And that just kind of covers up the actual strong layer under it.
So you've got like the full proper Spark suit underneath, and it's just got this extra layer of
just like piecing up
trophies.
on it. Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. All right. So I want to ask one more question of each of you for now. I'll be probably asking more questions about your characters as we go. Scorch, you say that you like to tinker and test with making yourself as flammable as possible. So, Yellow Bedwetter, what was the last test you did, and was it successful or maybe not as successful as you wanted?
On our last mission, I was able to find certain chemicals that aren't available at our home base. And after tinkering with them, I was able to melt a certain part of my suit that I thought previously unmeltable in all my previous experiments.
Excellent. So you have found something that is truly burns hot, hotter than anything.
Hotter than anything known to current man.
That is very cool.
It's
Excellent.
a trade secret. Do not ask me.
Everybody who actually is responsible for making the sparks keeps coming to you being like, this would be really helpful to know. And you're just, no,
No.
not going to share. Excellent. Joker, you say that you've got trophies on you from previous missions. What's the most recent trophy that you slapped onto your suit?
We went down, scoping out the shard that we thought we heard about. And turns out we just went into this, it was like a bug-infested den. Not really sure what kind of creatures they were. They were pretty alien to us. We lost a couple of our crewmates, but we took down what seemed like Mama Bug. So I grabbed a piece of her, mandibles and have that strapped along my wrist.
Oh, cool.
Like my right hand. So just kind of it looks like a little claw, maybe for a little extra punching damage, kind of. We'll see how long they can actually last. How durable the claws are.
That's awesome. Very cool. So, Lunatic, you are a recovered moon cultist. I guess what I want to know is how long ago was it since you were part of those lunar cults out in the dusk?
Many moons ago.
You've been not part of the cult for a while then?
Yeah, I'd say it's about 4 years since I rejoined Proper Society and started earning my way to get a spark.
Do you have a secret shrine somewhere in your apartment building or something like that?
I'm all about the sun now. I want to go back and proselytize to my former friends and make sure that they come to see the true light,
Gotcha.
not the false light of the moon.
Gotcha. Excellent. We are going to go on a mission here. I've got one drawn up for us to jump into. But before we do that, I want to establish a couple more things about our city. So I want each of us to establish one thing about this city that we live in, just so that we understand maybe sort of the stakes that are at play. I'll tell you about your mission, and then you can tell me about some personal objectives that your sparks are interested in. So, as a premise, in Nova, shards of the sun slammed into the earth, and humanity has started to rebuild around these shards. They are the last remnants of warmth and light. They are also, when tapped into, an incredible source of energy, which is how we were able to make the sparks in the first place. It fuels you. Every city that builds around one of these shards is going to vary in terms of how big it is based off of how big the shard is. That's how many people it can support. So I'm curious if you all have a sense of, do you want to be part of a sprawling metropolis? Like it's a huge shard nearby? Is it a small shard where you're the only sparks in town and you protect things, or maybe somewhere in between?
I like the idea of a smaller settlement, that we're kind of like the outcast of the sparks. So you guys are awful. You have previous crimes. You go over here.
Kind of like a Wild West town.
Yeah.
So is Joker sent to watch over us to make sure we're on the straight and narrow? Is that because he said he was a popular type?
Yeah, we're on a chain gang, you and I.
So he's a paladin of the group?
Yeah, you for your crimes against the church, if it were, as it were, and me as part of my community service for burning down an orphanage.
And my mouthing off to the authorities have gotten me put in charge of the Cretans.
Gotcha.
I get babysitting duty.
So it's sort of like an out of sight, out of mind thing. They're like, all right, let's just send them over there. They're, what worse harm can they do in that small town than in, the big cities right now? So they've sent you off. What I want to know about is one influential either person in town or faction or group in town that you're aware of that either you've worked for in the past or that you have come in conflict with in the past, somebody you have a good relationship or a bad relationship, just so that we have a sense of what is this town that we are fighting for and protecting.
I think for me, there's a caretaker of the sun shard that is very protective of it, And like all I want to do is be as close to this as often as possible. And so I keep breaking in, trying to like get as close as I can without burning myself alive. And they're not taking a kind eye to that anymore. I think it's just like an old cranky janitor type.
Excellent. So this old cranky janitor has to keep like chasing you away with a broom to get away from the sun shard.
Exactly. I just want to touch it. What?
Right. Excellent.
When moving in here, I didn't think it was going to be that great of a town, and then I kind of clicked with some of the underbelly almost. Like it's sort of like an orphanage where it's just there's no really like caretaker of the orphanage. It's just kind of kids looking out for each other. And me being a street rat when I was growing up, I kind of want to like see what kind of money I can bring back in here.
Cool. Excellent.
So for me, the person I connect to most is Madam Sweet. She is the head of the tavern and the House of Ill Repute. I know what I'm doing. I mean nothing to her, but in some way I've kind of convinced myself that I'm special. And maybe I'll take her one day and run away from this Spark town, and maybe we'll get a little house somewhere. Who knows?
Build a little cottage out in the dusk.
Yeah, nothing special. White picket fence, 2.5 children.
Hope the moon
With little
hounds
little
don't
spark
find
suits of our own.
you. Excellent.
Bonfires everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Well, you all are in this town. It sounds like you've been there at least long enough that you've established some relationships with people. It's not like you were just assigned to this town. So you've been here for a period of time. And I think what these smaller towns typically deal with in terms of threats to them is in like bandits and things like that. Not all of humanity was quick to subscribe to rebuilding in these cities around the sun shards. Many people saw the apocalypse as an opportunity. Many of them also saw it as the only option once the apocalypse happened, was to turn to banditry. And so there's a lot of them that live out in the dusk, which is basically all the regions outside of the city walls. But the further out you get in the dusk, the perhaps stranger things get. The bandits don't like to go too far out because they are worried about the things that are out there, the truly gnarly and scary things that can be found out of the dusk. So they tend to stay near towns, and they tend to stay near towns like the one that you stay in because smaller, easy pickings, usually don't have a whole suite of sparks there to defend it, so they can kind of do like smash and grab sort of opportunities and then make off with things. And so you have probably deflected a number of these attacks in your time here in the name of this city that we have not established. But if anybody has a great name for it, feel free to shout it out at any time. But for now, in this city, you've deflected a number of bandit attacks. What you have noticed, though, in the last one was perhaps a worrying amount of coordination from them, more so than that they've ever had before. Usually, it truly is, they come in at odd hours, they find weaknesses in the walls, holes or windows in the patrol sequence, and then they don't really try and do too much. But this last time, they did some real major damage to the wall of the city itself, and not only that, but a worrying amount of damage with the weaponry that they had. You're not used to them being coordinated and armed the way that they are. You are on a hunt in this mission. You are going to go hunt down the person that is responsible for this newfound coordination and armament for the bandits. None of you are Voyager Sparks. The Voyager Spark is the other Spark in the Quick Start, and they are the Pathfinders, the Scouts. And so some Voyager Spark would have come back and given you reports of sort of a makeshift base that the bandits have been using in the nearby vicinity. And so you're aware of maybe the location of this thing through Voyager reports, though none of you yourselves have seen the place yet. You typically stay close to the city walls. That's going to be the mission, is you're going to go hunt the cause, the source of this bandit coordination and armament. But you each also have a personal goal, something that you want to try and have accomplished, or something that you'd like to try and do during your mission. So what is maybe your personal goal, or almost a secondary objective that you are giving yourself? It's not necessarily something that all the other Sparks in the squad need to attend to, but it's the thing that you would like to see done during this hunt and essentially assassination mission.
I want nothing more than to find another sun shard that I can call my own. Just a little tiny piece. Doesn't have to be big, like a basketball-sized hunk. And then I just want to keep it forever and cuddle it at night.
Excellent.
I'd like to look at the weaponry and see what kind of technology they have to bust a hole through the wall and see if it's something I could use for my own exploits.
Excellent. Gonna examine that weaponry. Excellent.
I would like just to find a good trophy to brag about taking down this head bandito. Something I could tell in my tavern stories.
Excellent. All right. So we've got ourselves our own kind of personal missions, things that we would like to see accomplished. And now we are ready to go on a hunt. So I guess, first of all, you all have been here long enough. Have you been working together this whole time? Do you feel like there is, like, you understand one another on missions? Or is this like the first time you've actually gone out together?
I think we've had some history. I think we had a couple like little forays as we're defending the town from bandits. We're going to call it Dark Town because that's easy.
Yeah,
So-
but you say it real fast, like Darkton.
Darkton.
Darkton, yeah.
Yeah,
of
no,
course.
to old Darkton. But it's spelled Darktown, Towne.
That's how you figure out the bandits who have tried to sneak in and blend in with the civilians.
Hello,
How long you been in
fellow
Darktown?
Darktownians?
When you're going out into the dusk, since again, none of you are Voyager scouts who are the typical scouting, pathfinding spark. What's your typical formation that you all take when you go out into the dusk? Who takes points? Do you walk all together? Do you have sort of a strategy in terms of how you like to travel?
I feel like I would take point with just kind of have like the bulwark and be the distraction. Kind of all eyes forward here while those two can slip out and do whatever they got to do.
Well, I see, Corey, I feel the opposite. I feel like if you're the warden, you'd want to stay behind us to watch us at all times. And if we're going out into the dark, I can emit light from flame
That's true.
to see where we're going, and you can keep an eye on me as I'm doing so. It's my thinking.
I think we're not cut out for stealth whatsoever. I think we don't care if people
funky.
see us as we approach. Yeah, we're like loud. I'm garish as hell.
But
Which
just the
is
sound of
insane.
his armor. Ka-chink, ka-chink.
No, yeah, you hear me before you see me.
Like tin cans full of nails just rattling every time you step.
All the trophies just clanging
Jangling.
against the shell underneath.
We go
Excellent.
side by side like three amigos, you know?
Okay, cool. So you all are heading out into the dusk, and you make your way, you start moving in the direction of the coordinates that were given to you. Along that path, you notice a couple of different maybe opportunities or things to investigate that are up to you to decide whether or not you, as Sparks, on a mission like this, would go after them, or if there are things that you would want to avoid during something like this. One thing you do notice is a campfire off in the distance. And the other thing that you notice is a small ruins. There's like ruins of old Earth all over the place, previous humanity infrastructure and buildings and things like that. And there's always old ruins in the area, which can usually be filled with goodies in terms of like helping rebuild the city. Not necessarily goodies for improving your Sparks, but just for the good of Darkton. So you see those, but you do know that those definitely deviate from your path. Are you a group that deviates? And if you do, which deviation would you take?
I would say curiosity definitely gets the better of us.
I think I see flame, I go to it. Because where you see flame, you see people. And maybe they've had interaction with our bandits.
And what if it's not a flame? What if it's a very small spark? Or a shard, rather, you know?
I would know if it was flame.
Maybe.
Oh, we could use that that shard to refuel up or give us a little extra boost we need to keep moving forward.
It sounds like the fire of some kind or the source of light is the thing that draws your attention.
Mhm.
Okay, you start moving in your direction. Now you are Spark, so you are highly technologically advanced machines. So you have these really advanced HUD systems. You can see in the dark a much greater degree than a normal set of human eyes would on their own. And so you can sort of scan the source of heat and light off in the distance. And as you get closer, you can also scan and sense that there is a group of people that are around this campfire. It looks to be at least a dozen people cramped around in a tight circle around the fire. You're still a distance away, so they haven't noticed you or anything like that. What would you like to do?
Joker, do you want to go and see if they're friendlies or?
I feel like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I can approach and you guys hang back.
You're the most amenable.
Yeah.
and I'll just throw around some charisma.
Okay.
You know, hey fellas, you come here often?
So yeah, Joker kind of starts moving, and I think you would notice, Joker, that the second they can hear you, which they can hear you from a distance off, they start to quickly turn and form a semicircle on the opposite side of what you can see as a bonfire. So they're all trying to get on the other side of the fire from you. They don't scatter, and as you get closer, you see that these are regular folks. They have alongside them, you didn't pick them up with your HUD because they don't have heat signatures, but they have various crates and containers that they had been using clearly to drag things out. Like they've made crude makeshift sleds by just like getting whatever sheet metal they could and tying ropes to it and just dragging carts and crates and containers out to this bonfire. And they look at you with sort of terror in their eyes.
So I try to approach in a friendly way, hands above my head, waving a little bit like, hey, no worries, no threat here. Are you guys looking, are you going to be nomads, or like, do you come here often? Like, do you need town? You need safety? You look a little disheveled. Like you need some food, water.
Yeah, you hear like they all kind of like murmur, and one of them goes, I think that's a spark. Are you a spark?
Oh, why, yes, I am. What gave it away? Do you want me to show off some tricks, or
Where do you work from?
I'm from Darkton. I'm posted up there. I'm originally from a city, Perfection, miles out, way further down. That's where I originally grew up.
What are you doing out here then? Darkton's all the way back that way.
We've been experiencing some troubles, so we want to see if we can locate any. How can I put this? Direction of where to go.
There's like, again, murmuring in the crowd, and one of them sort of steps forward. She looks to be maybe in her like early 50s. From the crowd that you can see, seems to probably be one of the older people that is in this crowd and sort of taking a leadership role. She steps forward and she goes, depending on the troubles, your troubles and our troubles might be the same.
Yeah, we've been getting all sorts of attacks from who knows who. It seemed almost random at first, but now that it's getting a little coordinated, and we just want to make sure we can lock up and prepare ourselves the best way we can.
We got hit not a day ago in our town, and whoever it was timed it right. Our sparks were out on mission, and they haven't come back yet, and they took our town. They took everything. They were monstrous, whoever they were. They were huge, massive, all in black. We couldn't tell at anything, but the explosions, horrible. They've taken the shard. They've taken everything.
Everyone here, all right. Anyone hurt? Need any attention? How can we help? What kind of weapon were you talking here? Are you saying explosions, fast strikes, or kind of elongated battle?
It was fast. It was over before many of us knew what was going on. In fact, most people are still back there. Only a few of us managed to get out of the city walls in time. I have no idea what's going on back there, what they're doing in the town itself, but they got in, they secured the location, and they're holding it.
Does it seem like it could be the head of this group there, or a direction they might have came from to head to your town?
Well, they always came from the same direction whenever they were doing their small strikes. We experienced a similar sort of thing as you, where the seemed random at first and then got a little bit more coordinated, but they always came from the same direction. We can point you in that direction, or we can point you to town.
Might be best to take out the head of the snake here. I try and wave down the crew, Lunatic and Yellow Bedwetter, see if they're interested in coming along.
I think Lunatic already come running over when he heard him say shard.
Yeah, are the comms connected? Like, can I hear what he hears, or is it?
I assume you all have comm systems, and it's just up to you whether or not you, like how often you keep the mics live with one another.
I mean, if I heard the word shard taken or shard in danger, I'd be flying over there as fast as humanly possible. Like, where? What is it? Who's lost out? Where was it? Tell me.
I hear him screaming in the headset, and I warn the locals, just so you know, this is a good guy, but he's a little much. He's on his way. He'll be here in about 3, 2, looking at a watch. Right. A watch that's not on my arm.
I landed like full superhero pose in the middle of the crowd. Fire goes up everywhere. I'm like, you left it there to die. How dare you?
The crowd is terrified. They scatter, but not like running out into the dark, but they all move away. And they go, it wasn't our fault. We couldn't do anything. We're not sparks. We can't fight whatever these things are.
If you have breath in your lungs to protect the light, you don't deserve this. And I stomp out the fire they have.
Oh God! Oh, we need that.
Settle down.
They look at you now like they can't see much. They could just now that it's dark, so they kind of just like they're looking in your general direction. They go, "Please, if you could just give us our fire back, we'll point you in the direction of what we don't want trouble."
Luckily for you, we have a guy who can make some fires for you.
I think I make like fire balloons to say okay. And then just say direction question mark. They point, and then I light their fire back with my flamethrower.
Excellent. So yeah, they point you, they let you know where their town was. It's a short journey away from here, and they also point you in the direction of where approximately the attacks would have been coming from in relationship to their town. And they say, that's what we can do for now. Is it safe in Darkton? Would it be okay if we started to migrate that way?
Yeah, I'd say that's a good direction for y'all to head back west.
Find Madam Sweet, tell him that Yella sent you, and she'll treat you right, if you know what I mean.
Nobody can see the wink behind the HUD of the helmet, but they all just look at you and go, oh, okay. Excellent. So you know where this town is, this town that has been seized by whatever these forces are, and you also have a sense of direction of where they might be coming from. Where would you go of those two locations?
Do we hit the town first, see if we can recover anything? See what we're dealing with?
They have a base now in the town, I thought, right?
Yeah.
And
So we
that's
hit
where,
that first? Or do
that's
we
where
head
the Sun
to...
Shard is too. So
Well, I know where Lunatic wants to go.
Wait, I think it makes the most sense.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll head that way.
Okay, so you start heading towards the town. It's, again, not a short distance away. Your HUD system is hooked up with the general area map, and so you're able to sort of triangulate how far it would take to get to a place like this. Knowing that the town has been seized and turned into a base, I know you all said that stealth isn't necessarily your forte. So what would be, once you see the town on the horizon, and you do see, towns are really easy to see on the horizon because they have these huge shards of sunlight jutting out of the center of them. So you see the glowing beacon in the distance. The question is, how do you all approach a town that you know has been seized by some sort of enemy force?
I would want to just head up to the front gate and knock on it, knock it down, go in there. I'm also not really the strategist of the group. I defer to Joker's judgment.
So we know the direction their base is coming from, like where their original base is. So we'll head in around that way and trying to hit them from the backside. And then they're still going to be on alert, but they're not going to necessarily be paying attention that way because they assume that's where any reinforcements would be coming from, I would think. And then we could just charge in that way.
Cool.
So
Maybe
shock and awe.
have Bedwetter light up some pyrotechnics in the front,
Distract him.
and then Lunatic and I shatter in through the back.
I'll summon like a giant flame monster that they'll think is real for half a second. I
Nice.
can't hold on to this for that long, so you guys have to act quick before they realize it's just an elaborate ruse.
Excellent. So we see you sort of like, as an audience, we can see the camera above. We see two of you kind of splintering off and going into the, like, getting sort of to wrap around to the place that hopefully they aren't watching as carefully, while Yellow Bedwetter kind of preps for the giant fire monster illusion. So you managed to get yourself sort of in this pincer-like position, and Yellow Bedwetter, I would love to see a roll from you to see how awesome this monster is. It's going to be whatever your sun is, because this is a big, powerful display you're making.
All right, so 2d6s for my son, double sixes.
Okay, very good. So this is this is spectacular. And I think, you said to them, I'm not going to be able to hold this as long. And I think you're surprised with yourself. Maybe one of the reagents that you had been mixing in the lab, like, accidentally, like, accelerates the fire in a newfound way. What does this amazing distraction look like?
Well, I think it's just appropriately enough. It's a giant fire-breathing dragon. But I get so excited that it's lasted this long and looks this good. I think for a second I've convinced myself I can create life from flame. And in this moment, I am a fire god.
So Joker and Lunatic, you can see it, even though there's this
Fair
bright
enough.
there's this bright shard of sunlight in front of you. You see this massive fire dragon emerge on the other side of town. And immediately upon it showing up, you hear the sounds and cries of shock and scare, like of fear from what are likely the townsfolk, and then the sort of immediate barks of orders for forces to move to the front gate and prepare themselves. And so you can hear a lot of movement going on inside as whoever is inside is starting to move towards that front gate position. What do you do while you have this sort of opportunity where the eyes aren't on you?
Rush in and kick ass, right?
At first, I nudge Lunatic and go, "Are you seeing this shit? This real?"
You gotta admit, it's pretty sweet dragon, right?
Right?
It doesn't do anything halfway.
I use my HUD to take a screenshot of the dragon. This is going in the record book. I guess we try to see where the orders are coming from, based on operations like set up within the town. And
It's hard to tell from the outside. You can just hear the barks of orders on the other side
Okay.
of this kind of like ramshackle wall that is built around the exterior of the town itself.
I think I might just drop a shoulder and punch a hole through one of the walls and get us inside.
All right. Well, I think that also calls for a sun roll from you because you're doing a big, powerful roll. So, Joker, what's your sun?
My sun
score?
is 4.
Yeah,
so
you're all
4d6s.
about the big and power.
Praise the sun. All right. So it's just the best one.
Yes.
All right. So I have a 6 in there.
Excellent. All right. A 6 is going to look beautiful. So what does it look like? What are you hoping to accomplish as you smash through this wall? Because it's an absolute success. There's no consequences here.
So I was hoping, you said it's like a ramshackle metal wall
Yeah.
sort of thing. All right. So I was hoping just put a hole in it, just big enough for like myself to get through, and Lunatic, I assume, is a little bit smaller than my spark.
Mm.
So I end up shattering it. It just obliterates. You just see sparks flying everywhere. It's almost like a secondary explosion goes off. The metal shards go flying into some of the buildings in front of me, stick in there, just kind of like razor blades. If there's any guards on the other side of there, they're getting sliced up.
I think there's definitely, once you like slow down from your charge on the other side, you see some body like cloaked in black, huge shard of metal jutting out of their back. They're just, and you can see the pool of blood filling below them as they have just been punctured by this explosion of steel from behind. As you do this, well, I guess Lunatic, are you following through?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm rushing right in. I'm trying to open fire, and I'm screaming, "We come in peace! Do not be afraid!"
I got to drop the stick around one line or two. Look at that guy. And, this one's for Schwarzenegger.
Stick around.
Excellent. As you've sort of done this awesome initial display, we're going to enter into combat here because that's what Nova's about. It's about getting into this action-packed combat. So how combat works in Nova for both you and for the folks at home, it uses rounds and turns, but it uses sort of a looser version of it. So all of the players get to take a turn. They can do it in any order they want. So there's no set initiative amongst the Sparks themselves. Once they've all done something, I will do what's called the GM's turn, where I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to generate a bunch of drops, because this is like a video game where the enemies are going to drop health and essentially energy for you to continue to be badasses. And then the enemy forces are going to try and take you out. They're going to do some big, powerful moves. But you all get to go first. And on your turn, you can move and do an action. Most actions are activating any of the powers on your character sheet, but it could be doing other things like continuing to smash things or do a distraction or anything like that. Whatever you want to do during your turn. To set the stage here, Yellow Bedwetter, you are up near the front of the town. You can see a bunch of bodies, you're not exactly sure who they are, starting to kind of man the top of the wall that is at the front of the town. You can just see figures starting to pop up, and they're all lit up, again, just cloaked in black by the fire dragon in front of you. What Joker and Lunatic see are some enemy forces, some of these black cloaked troops, rushing towards the front of the town, and a huge shard of sunlight in the middle of town that has a bunch of machinery attached to it that is not normal. Who would like to go first, and what would you like to do?
I'm destroying that machinery.
Fair enough.
I don't care about the civilians. I don't care about these assholes. I'm going to go destroy that.
So what does it look like, Lunatic, as you try to destroy this machinery? The shard is not too far away, so you could use your movement to get up next to it if that's what you're looking to do.
I think I go there in like 3 huge strides and just start hacking at it with my sunblade.
Okay, cool.
Any weak points, any pipes, wherever I think it's storing the energy from it, I'm just shattering it as much as possible.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for now, since you're not activating any of your powers and you just try to truly just destroy things, let's just have a sun roll as you try and roll a big, powerful, massive bit of death and destruction to the machine.
6.
Okay, yeah. So you start smashing and hacking into this thing. You are slicing, you have this incredibly hot sword. Like it is like as hot as the sun itself. It just is slicing through the pipe, slicing through the machinery. And you can tell that the shard itself had dimmed and it's starting to glow a little bit brighter every time you're starting to smash into these things. You also know, since you got a 6 and you're right there next to it, you can trace back the lines. You take just a moment from your destruction to look at the machine itself, and you see that these things are all hooked up to a lunar shard. A lunar shard has been brought into town, and it is hooked up to the sun shard itself. Maybe there's a flashback of a moment of you as at part of a ritual at one of these lunar shards, and you recognize it immediately.
The heretical shard must be destroyed. It must be purged from this place.
Excellent. Joker, you saw Lunatic rush forward. Yellow Bedwetter, you've got all eyes on you. Most of the camp is on you. Which of you would like to go next?
I figure if they're up in the towers, that means not only can they see me, they can see them inside the town.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to target the guys up top so they can't snipe down on them.
Yeah.
So I figure while my dragon's still up there, they say, oh, it's just a fire illusion. We're safe. But I guess I'll use my kindling and choose a number of targets up to your sun, which for me is 2 at any range, and they'll each take 1 harm. So I imagine as they're kind of being calmed that it's a fake dragon, at that moment he will actually throw real fire down upon them.
Excellent. So whenever we use powers as sparks, we don't need to roll. Powers just activate by spending fuel. So you just need to mark that you've used one of the fuel on your sheet. But powers just work because sparks are badass and they can just do those sorts of things. So we see exactly this. The dragon spits down fire and 2 of these guards up top are immediately lit aflame. And, whatever the cloaking that they had been wearing, it catches immediately. So you can see 2 of them are just starting to frantically wave around. They don't get incinerated right away, but you can tell that they're not having a very good day. Do you want to stay where you are, Yellow Bedwetter, or do you want to move at all?
I think if I can get up on this tower somehow, I can rain fire from above much easier. So I'm going to attempt to climb the tower somehow.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you could use your movement to close the distance to the wall so that you can start climbing up on there. Just know that there's a bunch of them up there right now. But you're okay with that?
Oh, I'm okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, you can just what does it look like when you climb? Because I feel like Joker climbs by punching into the wall, and Lunatic might actually literally run up the wall. What does a Scorch look like when they climb?
I think I have a rocket pack.
And
the flame and the projection floats me up the wall.
Nice. You just kind of fly, you're flying alongside your dragon as it's in there. You land atop this tower. You see a number of these guards in chaos as 2 of them are completely engulfed in flame. Joker, what do you want to do? Right now, there are no guards immediately around you. There's a couple of them in the center of town near the shard where Lunatic is, and then most of them seem to be up front where Yellow Bedwetter is.
So I'm going to head over. I see Bedwetter jumping up there,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems Lunatic's all right now. I'm not sure if he really needs assistance. He's hacking it up pretty good, that flame sword. So I want to grab maybe some piping, something, and just kind of slingshot it up at some of the guards next to Bedwetter to kind of assist him. He seems to have his hands full. Do you think I could see him from the distance I'm at? Closes the gap a little bit?
Yeah,
the amount of fire you see.
Yeah.
You can definitely, he has created a beacon for you.
I'm going to try and pin some guys up there. And
Okay.
I can't physically get myself there, but I feel like I'm strong enough to hurl something in that direction.
Absolutely. So you can kind of use the movement on your turn to get up to all the smashed up and sliced up pipes and machinery that Lunatic had started doing. You just hurl some of that up at the top of that wall there. Let's get a sun roll for that, because again, we're rolling powerful tonight. We're all about sun tonight.
Raise the sun. All right, we got a 5.
Okay. In Nova, 5s and 6s are both full successes. So it's still a full success there. So yeah, you throw this pipe up there, and yeah, Yellow Bedwetter, you land, you see a couple of them on fire, and then this huge pipe slams into the group, and you see a bunch of them also topple over and are pinned underneath this huge metal machinery. They're not having a very good time here. So that's the enemy turn. On the enemy turn, if there are enemies that died, I would create a drop. And one did die from that explosion of the back wall from they got pierced. So I will make that. So there is one fuel up for grab. Whoever wants the fuel can take it. You all are feel free to decide whoever feels they need it the most. I think Yellow Bedwetter might be the only one that spent it so far.
I spent the fuel. So if I could have that, please, so I can rain down fire on these fools.
Absolutely. And what I always like to ask people is, what does it look like? Because we're starting to play into like funny video game magic when we talk about like health drops and energy drops from enemies. So what does it look like as your spark sort of repurposes the life force of these enemies to create fuel?
So do they drop a life force, or is it full on video game where they drop out little gas tanks?
It could be like a little gas tank.
I'm picturing like these little like almost like crystallized shard pieces that you could just pour right into like a slot in your tank and kind of just refuel yourself.
So like a sort of portable shards of light, that a fuel that people carry around with them in case they need it for various purposes. This person drops one of them and you can just snatch that up.
Like a little crystal, like a rock?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
So I'll take that and melt it down with the immense heat to create a volatile gas, and then just jump it into my backpack.
Awesome. Yeah. So you just grab it, crush it as it's burning up, and it just in its gaseous form, we see in your HUD, the little fuel meter goes right back up to full. Excellent. So on the enemy's turn, we got the drops, and then we have some enemy movements. So a couple of the guards who are in the middle of town are going to turn to attack Joker and Lunatic, because you all have sort of appeared from nowhere, and you're close by. They turn and they fire weaponry on you that you haven't kind of witnessed around town in a long time. They have like firearms, and you've seen like in the absence of human technology and after the apocalypse, the access to weapons that we have is minimal. It's all kind of been funneled into the sparks, but these seem to have like military style weaponry. But it's not bullets that they fire at you. They fire these like razor sharp shards of like shrapnel, but in a directional sense. And so your suits just get like as they get a bunch of these spikes slammed into your chests. You're each going to take 1 harm from the attack from these guards in the middle. And then the other thing that you notice, and I think Yellow Bedwetter, you're going to probably notice this just because you're at that heightened position, is you can see that the sun, the moon shard like glows, and in that glow beyond it is an individual who starts walking out. They're also in the dark robes, but they have a moon-like glow about them, and they start to emerge onto the battlefield.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Coming to the World Wide Web, it's the internet's premier podcast that gives you the 411 on the 1990s favorite television teens with Tood.
The Ninja Turtles?
As if...
The Power Rangers?
Talk to the hand!
My bad. You must mean the...
No duh, they're all that in a bag of chips.
That's P-H-A-T fat. How do I scope that?
Just head on over to our Patreon, and starting at $1, you'll get 2 gnarly episodes of Jumping the Street Sharks a month, plus a bunch of other tubular shiznit.
Actually, that sounds lame. I think I'll keep my cheddar to myself. Not!
So if you want to support us, head to the Patreon link in the show notes. We appreciate you, and can't wait to share more jawsome content with you soon.
So that'll be the enemy turn. And now I hand it back to you, Sparks. Feel free to go in whatever order you want and rain hell.
I think that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Excellent.
Is there anybody left up on the tower with me?
Yeah, so they are all alive still. They're just like 2 of them are on fire and they're in the like stop, drop, and roll phase. And there are 3 of them that are pinned under the pipe right now. So they're all still like alive. It's capable of, once they get themselves taken care of, fighting back against you.
As much as I'd love to stick around and watch them burn in pure light, I think it's best while they're under control that I rain down. And you said this guy was glowing from his own moonlight or from the moonlight?
From his own moonlight. It's as if there's like an aura of this silvery light that shimmers around the figure themselves.
Okay, and because I hate anything that would compete with fire, this immediately draws my ire, I will use my erupt. Columns of flame burst from the ground up to near. So am I near enough to do this?
This person is at a far distance, so you would have to you'd have to close the gap a little bit. You'd have to leave your sniper nest that you're in.
Well, now that I've established I have a flaming jetpack, I'll fly over and hover above him and rain down.
Excellent. So yeah, we see you kind of close the gap and then cast Erupt. What does Erupt look like? Because like you said, it's a column of flame that comes out of the ground. Is it you summoning it?
I summon it from the core of the earth and summon whatever heat's left, and it blasts through and into my hands, and whatever's in between gets annihilated. And he just happens to be there.
He's in the way.
I'm just going to erupt fire from the middle of the earth, and if you happen to be there, that's on you.
So yeah, we hear the rumbling, and then boom, cracking and smashing through the earth is this column of light and flame, and the individual inside just erupts in flame. Although they don't start panicking, like they sit there and they look like they're bracing through the pain. But you can see that whatever cloak that they're wearing, they have this sort of long cape, and it's made of these sort of black feathers, and they all start to singe, which you would have expected to immediately light on fire. They are just starting to burn on the edges and tips. So whatever this person is doing, they are trying to resist the fire. They are taking the damage. So how much damage comes from an erupt?
3.
Yeah, so they start cooking, but perhaps shocking, they don't topple over or start panicking from the fire. They are sitting there bracing through it, and you can see that this silver light is sort of phasing in and out around them, protecting them in some way.
Okay, and is there anybody close to them?
Yeah, they had 2 guards with them that they don't have the protection. They immediately start catching on fire.
Yeah, because it's 1 to anybody close to them.
Yeah, so those 2, boom, they light on fire. They don't drop immediately, but they do take the 1 harm.
So that's a fuel for me, right?
Yes, correct. Lunatic or Joker?
I kind of see how Lunatic is staring at that Luna shard, and I want to assist him getting closer to it. I don't know, how far away is he right now?
He's right next to it.
Oh, okay, he's already next to it. In that case, I will head towards his direction. And he had, 3 or 4 people around that area?
Yeah, so there's the new moon cloaked individual who has 2 guards, and then there are 3 guards in the center of town that kind of fired on you with their rifles of some kind.
All right, I'm going to head towards those guys. I'm going to use my crush and throw ability.
Excellent.
So it's going to let me grab one of those enemies, crush him with 2 harm, and I'm just going to toss him as close as to the cloaked figure as possible. Just try and knock him down, get him off balance.
Nice. So what does it look like when you crush an individual?
So I'll charge in, grab him with both hands, pick him up, kind of squeeze him in, try and get a little crushing action on that, on the rib cage area. And then I'll just take it, and then sort of like a baseball lob kind of thing, where you just grab him over your one arm and just throw him as hard as I can over in the direction of what I assume is some sort of cult leader.
For the first time, you get a close-up look at one of these individuals. They also have these feathers, though they don't have a long cloak made of it. They seem to be sewn into this tactical armor that they're wearing. They're wearing sort of a hardened leather tactical armor of some kind with these black feathers that are sewn into sort of the seams. And they have a black mask that has a sort of protruding black beak. And this individual looks at you, and they just kind of hiss at you when you pick them up. And then the hiss is just immediately cut off as you crush their innards and hurl them.
Hiss at this.
Yeah, and I think since you hit the cult leader, they get sort of thrown off by getting impacted by one of their own people. And we see that the fire from the column starts to catch much faster than it was before. So their concentration seems to be broken. Excellent. Lunatic.
I'm going to join the party and try to kill this cult leader. I'm going to abandon my smashing of the machinery, jump over there as fast as I can. My passive ability to slash, which does 1 damage automatically to the cult leader. And then I'm going to use dash. I'm going to spend the fuel to do that. And because I moved to get to him, it'll do 3 harm to him as well.
Nice. What does it look like as you dash?
I kind of hold my sword at my ribs, and I just try to go I'm going to plunge it right through them as hard as I can. I want to skewer them and kill their false light.
Excellent. So as you go dashing towards this person, you boom skewer right through them, right through the rib cage. There's a and they look at you. You can't see their face because, again, they also have one of these sharp beak-like masks on their face. And the light is fading. The silver aura that surrounds them starts to fade. It doesn't entirely go out from this attack. They look at you and they grab the blade, and then they start to try and pull it out of them. Now, the enemies, it's their turn. You did drop a fool. So the one that got crushed and thrown did die. We haven't killed that cult leader yet. So you do have one fuel up for grabs for whoever wants it. I think you all spent one. So
I've got 5 available. So who has the lowest available?
I think Joker has the lowest available. I have 4 still. So
give
Okay,
it to
so
Joker.
I could grab it.
cool. So Joker, what does it look like when you refuel?
So I pull it off of the cultist. I kind of crush it up as much as can, and a port opens up in my chest. Pop it in, and I just kind of sprinkle it in there like a little dusting, and just
Excellent.
slam it back shut to kind of see the meter just recharge up.
Does it
You
make
see-
like a vacuum cleaner sound?
Yeah. You
You
see it
season
all
yourself a little bit.
vacuumed in.
Excellent.
Salt bay it.
Exactly. So as you do this, the drop happens, and then the enemy turn begins, and the person who's got the cult leader who has the sword through them, they look at you and they say something in the lunar cult speak that lunatic you would understand, and maybe perhaps they wouldn't have expected you to say, but they say time's up. And when they say that, they flicker into existence and then disappear, and your sword kind of just like drops a little bit because it's no longer impaled inside this person. And then the house that they came through, you can see them standing back in the doorway, fully cloaked again. All their cloak has been reforged back in the way it was. The silver aura is bright as it had ever been before. The 2 guards that are on fire that were next to it, they stop, drop, and roll. So that you see 2 guards that are just stop, dropping, and rolling, but you all hear the like sound of the thud as the metal pole that had pinned down the guards on the wall drops and slams down to the ground. So the guards who were up on the wall have started to mobilize again. They won't do anything this turn, but you know that they are active now. So I throw it back to you, Sparks.
we have to destroy that shard first before we can kill this guy. I related it to them that he said time's up in moon speak.
That's
We
what's
have-
like.
we have to
We
destroy
need to
this.
switch our point of attack here.
Yeah, so distract him, and then I'll go and try to destroy that shard. And if he reacts badly to me doing that, then we'll know that's the truth, and that's I'm on the right path.
Well, if he reacts badly, I don't think we should distract him. I think he should know what we're doing. So I think we should make a big
Like,
bold
taunt him
show
out of it.
Okay, I'm gonna touch the shard. Don't stop me. Quit it. Get back here.
Come on, guys. Don't break my thing.
I'm gonna use Hunter and hurl a flaming spear at the shard and pull myself over there and see if I can fuck it up.
Yeah, so what does it look like when you do your sweet spear teleport thing?
I think it's like a wrist rocket, like the old Nerf guns used to have on people's wrists. And I kind of Spider-Man over there, stab it, and then pull myself onto it. And I just
Nice.
start hacking wildly at the thing.
So you use your hunter, so you mark a fuel for using hunter. Not only is there a cracking sound, you see the puff of dust, the moon dust that comes off from the impact, but you now are just starting to smash into this thing. Those of you who are watching the cultist see that they react very poorly to this. You can see that they are getting ready to start closing the gap. Now you all get to still go first, but they are not pleased.
Are they attempting to come out of the...
It looks like they're going to. The enemies don't move until you all get a chance to do cool stuff. But you can see that they are going to start making a beeline right towards Lunatic when they get the chance.
No, I don't have this as a power, but would it be possible to create some type of flame wall?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you do things that aren't part of your powers themselves, we just make a roll of it to see if you're capable of doing it, since powers just happen without a roll.
So if it's stun, is it 2d6s?
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to make a big, massive wall or something
To
like that.
buy him, I figure they can get through it based off of what I've seen, but it might give him an extra couple whacks at the stone.
Absolutely.
Crystal.
Cool.
So we get 4 is my highest.
Yeah, so you kind of like cast this wall up. What does that wall look like, and how do you summon it?
So do you remember the Revenge of Shinobi on the Sega Genesis?
I never played it. I'm
It
sorry.
was one of his ninjutsu skills.
Oh, okay.
In the game, you'd stab a sword and 3 pillars of fire would appear, and then go whoosh, 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 and just alternate back and forth.
Nice. So yeah,
I like
we summon these sweet pillars. They summon in front, and I think they're going to form a defensive wall. I think maybe normally it would be like a tighter weave, but there are like gaps here, and so they'll be able to maybe get through without getting as obstructed as they normally would. But it's still the wall is there, and they will have to run through a flaming wall of fire to get to Lunatic.
And it burns, burns, burns. The wall of fire.
Do you want to stay where you are? Like you're kind of like hovering in a central position in town, or do you want to move to anywhere else?
No, I want to stay right there and then continue to try to force them back.
Sweet. All right, Joker.
I want to head back towards Lunatic to kind of just give him a defensive shield. I see them all kind of eyeballing him, but noticing I still have at least one cultist on the side of me. I only threw one of them. I see him eyeballing the shard. So I kind of give him a look and say, hey, you want to take a closer look? And I'll grab him with me. As we run over, I put him up into the flame wall.
Nice. So you're activating... Of course, I forgot the name of my own power.
It says I could do it with allies, but maybe I could do it with an enemy. It's called Bull.
Yeah, you absolutely can do it with enemies as well.
You shake his hand and say, hi, nice to meet you. Now we're friends.
Perfect.
So yeah, this poor fool gets picked up. You go rushing to close the gap, dragging them through the wall of fire along the way. You know, by the time you get to Lunatic, you're holding just like a scorched corpse, like a skeleton almost at this point from the flame.
I like my toast well done.
This person is done. Excellent. Or you've gotten up next to Lunatic at this point, so you've closed the gap. You killed somebody. There's a fuel up for grabs for whoever wants it.
Did I use my fuel on...
You didn't need to use fuel
because it
for
wasn't
the
a
wall.
power. It was just
Correct.
a risky mode. Okay.
I'll take the fuel if you guys don't mind.
Go for it.
So from the wall, the front wall, you hear the like as these shard guns go flying out, and you're each going to take one harm as the rifles each spread out and try and take out the targets here. The cult leader starts running, and they like get to the wall, and you can see them like forcing their way through. You can see again the fire charging off of them, and the aura is starting to weaken again, but it doesn't flicker out entirely as they get to the you see them like finally pierce through the wall on the other side, and they like heaving a little bit, breathless from the effort that it took, but they are slowed down to the point that they weren't able to get to Lunatic or the shard during this turn. I pass it back to the Scorches, or sorry, to the Sparks.
I'll take that as my cue.
All right.
Would you say this is injured, the cult leader?
Oh yeah.
Then in that case, I will use my snuff out, which is to target an injured enemy at any range, and they'll take harm equal to my shade. And my shade is 3.
Nice. So what does it look like when you snuff out an enemy?
Well, I think I'll take it quite literal. So as he's flaming, from my backpack, I'll pull out one of those big bell-shaped brass objects with the wand, like you would snuff a candle with, crack it over his head.
Nice.
And snuff out the flame that's engulfed this poor human.
Yeah.
Or whatever he is.
They take 3 harm, right?
Yes.
You slam down this snuffing tool.
I gotta figure out what it's gotta have a name.
It's gotta have a name. Put it in the show notes.
Nate, throw it in your Google machine, would you?
Yeah, we'll do.
And as you kind of like pull back, they are on their hands and knees. They are like devastated by this. The aura is just flickering in and out, barely phasing in. They have laborious breath here, and you can and you can tell that they are struggling. Oh, candle snuffer. That's, I guess, anticlimactic. Excellent. So you've dropped them to their knees. They seem incredibly in pain. They haven't, the aura around them hasn't faded away entirely, but it's flickering in and out, incredibly weak. Excellent. Who else would like to go?
I'm gonna still smash this shard. That's kind of my whole steez right now. I'm gonna just use the dash action again. I'm not gonna move beforehand because I clearly can't. I'm just gonna jump up on it and smash down on it with my feet this time, just kind of kicking it apart.
So you just literally try to like kick the stone or smash this.
Like, why won't you break?
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, you do 1 damage always at the start of your turn because you're a pyre and you deal damage to things, and then you smash down with your dash. And you're trying to destroy the stone itself, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's moon rock. It's dusty. It can be smashed like any other stone or anything like that. And you are a giant mech exosuit. So yeah, you could absolutely just start smashing the stone. You're breaking off pieces, and with every break, I think Yellow Bedwetter, because you're watching the cultist, you see every time a piece breaks off, the aura disappears entirely, and then it kind of like slowly flickers back off, and then another piece breaks off. The stone is almost entirely powdered. It hasn't been completely destroyed, but you can see that you've almost completely destroyed the thing. Joker, what would you like to do?
I want to use my Bulwark ability, where I slam down a gigantic shield to kind of cover our allies, but I want to slam it down on the cult leader as he's on the ground, kind of being snuffed out. They try and pin him down there while also throwing up the shield. I'm picturing like this just kind of ramshackle shield I put together. It's sturdy underneath, but on the outside kind of has like flecks of battle on it. It has some kind of spike sticking out at the end of it. So if anyone's ever played World of Warcraft, it's called the Bulwark of Azeroth. It's kind of it's very iconic shield from the olden days, and it has like these spiky protrusions on the backside of it. So I'm picturing something similar to that as I slam it down on him, and this will kind of, if anyone tries to charge at it, you just pin him back.
Nice. Are you trying to position it so that it's blocking against the people that have been shooting at you?
Yes. So pin it, like drop it down, and have the outside facing the enemy shooting towards us.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So you slam this thing down. The cult leader is now just like flat on their face. Again, the aura is just flickering in and out, faintly, barely there at this time. You bring down this wall. On the enemy turn, no enemies were killed this particular turn, so there's no drops. But the enemies from above fire, and they all normally do 1 harm, and I believe the Bulwark reduces harm by 1, correct?
Yes.
So yeah, all of you hear just like the sound of like as all these spikes go slamming into the Bulwark shield, protecting you all. The cult leader grabs onto the foot of Joker, and you can see like the aura sort of like brighten for just a moment, and you both disappear, and you appear up on Joker. You find yourself back up on the wall where all those guards are with the rifles, with the leader like on their hands and knees, having phased you over there.
Oh, this is fun.
You should just like immediately start throwing up from the teleportation.
Yeah.
Inside my visor.
Right, it's disgusting. So I hand it back over to the Sparks.
I'm just going to keep smashing this. I want to finally kill off this rock. This rock has offended me personally, and I need it to go away.
Would you say that Moonrock is affected any worse or better with fire?
I'm going to hand that over to the Lunar Cultist as the expert on this. What would you know, as somebody who was in the Lunar Cult, is one of the fears of the sun that the fire is dangerous to the stone, or?
I think it's that the sun is too powerful and can't be controlled. But the moon is softer and gentler, so it can be controlled and is the rightful place for man to worship.
So the flame of the sun would be highly destructive to the moon then?
Yes. It's not to be touched. The flame of the sun is too hot, so yes, it could destroy the moon.
So can we like combine a turn and I can flame on his sword?
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah, so I'll give him a hand, and am I near him, or am I still
You're
floating
like,
in the air?
You're like floating above him, so you could like drop down next to him to do this.
Yeah, I'll drop down next to him, grab the sword. I imagine it's got a pretty big hilt.
Mm-hmm.
I'll grab the hilt so both of our hands are on it. I think you'll get, what are you doing? This is my sword. I said, just trust me on this. And I'll flame up the sword and tell him to swing like Joaquin Phoenix in Signs.
Swing away.
Yellow Bedwetter, can I get a shade roll from you? Because this is a kind of like a precise lighting of the flame. You've been doing pretty like wild destructive things, so I want to see if you can kind of like control this to just the sword itself and not light Lunatic's hands on fire as well.
Okay. So my shade is a 3, and my highest is a 3.
Okay.
Not great.
So it's successful. It's just there's some complications to it.
You lose some fingers, Nate.
Yeah, burnt knuckles.
Hey.
Yeah. So Lunatic, you can feel the sword has been lit by the flame, and I think you feel your hands inside are starting to scorch with the prolonged holding of this. I think you'll be able to use this to smash, but you might need to like drop the sword and let it cool for a period of time before you're able to use it.
So I'm going to use dash again then.
With the dash damage, with the combined efforts of the flaming sword, you destroy this. What does it look like by destroying it with the dash and the flame sword?
I think for a split second, the lunar shard itself glows as if the sun. It keeps getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And finally, it vaporizes in a huge explosion of sparks. And I'm like, yes, bathe in it. It's glorious.
I'm a big fan of this fanatic. So yes, everybody bathes in the sparking destruction of this moonstone. And Joker, you notice, because you're right next to the cult leader, the aura is gone. It flickers and then it's just gone. And there's this gasp amongst the people who are up there. They notice that the flicker is gone. They're all sort of like blinded by the explosion of the moonstone. And you are the last to go this turn.
So I'm gonna try and pick up the leader and just kind of wrapping him around and almost like a hostage kind of move, like wrap my hand around his neck and kind of grab his mask, see if I could like rip it off of him, while also having him in front of me so the enemy doesn't really want to attack. So just kind of like overpower him since he's seems to be in a little weakened state. Let's see if we can get some info out of this guy. Make a sun roll, because not only you're overpowering, but you're doing this big emotive thing to like convince the people to be afraid of you. Let's see. We got a 6.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, this leader is they're as close to death as you can get, essentially. So you could easily hoist them up, rip off the mask. And are you saying anything to these people up top?
Put down your arms. You're done here. And then I'll try and go with the leader and be like, what is your goal here? Are you it? You
rip off the mask, and the first thing that you notice is that it's not a human face beneath the mask, but is in fact the face of an avian-like humanoid. So the beak on the mask was actually fitting to fit the mask of the being underneath. The tuft of feathers kind of like emerges from beneath the collar, and just these jet black eyes as a crow stares at you and caws out in fear. The people up on the wall all hold their hands, but they go, no, don't hurt him. No. I think at this point the combat is done. They're not going to fight if you're holding on to the leader like this. So they will go down, and they all put their rifles down on the ground in front of you. They've put a gap between the three of you and them as they all watch you take charge of the situation. So what do you all want to do with this bird creature and its soldiers?
Lunatic, you speak Moonbird. How about we figure out what this guy wants?
Do I know what he is even? Have I ever seen one of these before?
You've never seen one of these before.
So I think the first thing I'm going to ask this thing is, why do you speak the tongue of the moon people?
It looks at you and it echoes back as best it can, moon people.
I nod, and I turn to one of the other humans and I say, why does it speak the tongue of the moon people?
We don't know. It just showed up and it led us to its camp, and it had a whole bunch of gear, and it loaded us up with what we needed, and it provided, and so we've been trying to learn its language. We're not really that good at it, but we get the basics, and so we came to camp here based off of its orders.
Are there more of its kind out there?
Oh yeah, there's a whole slew of them out there.
What do you all want with Darkton?
I don't want shit with Darkton, but that thing wants Darkton.
Why?
They want the shards for something. They got a base out there, and they've got, I don't know, looks like a ship.
I think with these people here, they're obviously degenerate moon worshippers, and they have to be killed. We're not going to take prisoners.
No.
No offense, it just has to happen.
That's very reasonable.
You're on a pitch to share the light.
We can put these people to work to help fix up the town.
Well, Nate, couldn't you proselytize upon them and convert them with your charisma to the sun?
I think I have to try at least, and if they don't accept it, they'll get the blade.
We'll give them a chance.
Just like the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, exactly. The conquistador stuff. Yeah. Do you accept the sun? No, stabbed. Would that be like a shade roll? Trying to?
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to reason with them. So it sounds like a shade roll to me.
Like, the moon sucks. It just sucks. The sun is way cooler.
Nice and
Because
warm.
I don't have a high shade. So.
Right. They're all kind of looking at you like, okay.
And I just further my argument, I will stab you if you disagree with me.
He's not lying, folks. I've seen him do it.
That's a 4.
So, I mean, it's a success. I think one of them just goes, the sun is no good. I'm not going to worship no sun.
So we'll burn him at the stake to set an example.
He just ignites immediately.
An example is made. The rest of them quickly fall in line, and we'll kind of follow your orders. What are you going to do with the bird?
We have to use him as bargaining chip. Go back to his folks. Tell him to step off. leave us alone.
Who is his leader? Does he understand that when I say it in moon language?
The word leader, like it looks at you and you can see that there is recognition in that word, and it looks off in the distance somewhere else and looks back at you and then looks in the distance and says the word leader again.
So I say, go to leader.
I say we tie him up, wrap him
And
up in some
we're going to
chains,
follow it.
and
Yeah.
push him along.
Yep. And he can
Nate, say it. You know you want to say it.
take me to your leader.
He said it.
Excellent. The leftover bandits, you're going to have them just start working in town or like start repairing the town. Is that what your orders for them?
Yeah, help get some.
Start with that wall that we broke through.
Okay.
Yeah, whoops. The gates are completely ablaze.
Nice. I think what we see here in our episode, this first episode of the Crow saga, starts to come to an end. What we see is the three of you starting to move in the direction that the Crow is leading you in. The town behind starts to get rebuilt by the bandits that you have converted into diehard zealots of the sun now, 100%. And I think along the way, we see a couple of things. We each see sort of a personal scene in which you maybe like either like as you're leaving town or prepping to leave, like what is something that you would have wanted to do before leaving town to move on to the next phase of this, if this was an ongoing sort of campaign?
I think I would spend some time in quiet contemplation in front of the shard, just kind of praying and saying, I hope you recognize the service I've done to enhance your light. Please let your light enhance me as I go forth into the darkness.
Yeah, I think this is the first time you've ever been around a shard completely unattended, right? Whoever is in charge of running this thing is gone or dead or something like that. So yeah, this is your first really close encounter with one of these things. So we see some time with Lunatic kind of in contemplation with the shard. What about Yellow Bedwetter? What do we see you doing?
I guess because my main goal was to look for new technology and weaponry, to take a look at that machine that Lunatic smashed up. So I'm going to salvage it for parts, see if there's any fuel source or any parts I can use for experiments.
Yeah, looking at the parts, a lot of it, like it's sort of a Frankenstein thing where a lot of it is parts and materials that you've seen before, especially back in Darkton and other cities, in terms of like it's the usual sort of materials used when we just funnel fuel from the sun shards in the first place, but it has been retrofitted and kind of hybridized with material and technology that you've never seen before that looks truly alien to you.
I'm going to grab anything I don't recognize and put it into my backpack for later experimentation.
Yeah, so you have some of this sort of strange tech now. And then Joker, what's your last sort of moment in town?
First, I'm going to attach this bird mask along my waist, kind of like a satchel type spot. Just kind of have that as a trophy, just kind of hang in there. Remember this battle. And to see if there's any parts I could use to just repair, stitch up some of the holes, pockmarks kind of thing on the front there, and just see if there's anything good that we could possibly send back over to Darkton. Any kind of supplies that the town might need, because it looks like this place is just going to be abandoned for a bit before they get repaired.
Yeah, that becomes kind of the big question eventually is this a town that gets abandoned? And if it does, what are you all going to do with, like, what would be done with the shard? Or do you try and defend it until inhabitants can come back? That would be something that you all would have to kind of contemplate in the future when you find a derelict town like this. I think we see one last scene before we cut to credits and let credits roll here, which is off in the distance as you all start to move. We see a craft of some kind nestled within a valley, like this craggy valley out of the wastes. And there's just formation after formation of these soldiers that are fully armored. They are wearing sort of like a metal dark plated armor of some kind. They have the same long crow-like beak masks on them, and they carry rifles and things like that, similar to what you had seen the human soldiers had been adopting during the battle. And they all begin to start marching down the valley, and as they reach a certain point, they all start to take flight and soar off into the dark sky of the dusk. And I think we cut to black there.
That does not look good, boys.
Spencer, that was fantastic, man. Thank you so much.
That was so much fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. You all did fantastic murdering all those bandits and crows. So I had fun watching it happen.
Is this
Sorry.
a pretty typical playthrough experience from your playtesting?
Yeah, that's it usually hits in that like hour and a half. You spend some time setting some stakes, learning about the town and things like that, and then you go out and do a quick mission, and then you wrap it up there. You know, I've hit that point in my life where it's hard for me to do the 3-4 hour sessions that I used to do back in the day. So I like a good, like tight 90-minute sort of thing that we can jump in and out of whenever we can. So yeah, this was right about around what a typical Nova session's like.
That was perfect. I like that it wasn't just a pure combat thing. It was like there was an alternative combat objective with destroying the machinery. Stop figuring out why he's being repowered all the time. That was a lot of fun.
That's a big part of it because you all are extremely capable and powerful machines. And so it could just truly be you wiping out waves and mobs of enemies if you wanted. But eventually it's in the book for the GM to try and come up with ways that force the Sparks to do things other than just murder everybody, because they're very good at that. Make them do the things that might be slightly more challenging.
And I like too the amount of freedom we were given to create the world. It wasn't so locked in, you know, and I like, you know, being asked questions and having to think of things that I wouldn't normally think about in some of our typical, you know, who's waiting for me at home.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the co-built world. Most of my games have what I call massive holes in them in terms of setting and world and stuff like that, because I love it at the table to fill those holes. And so there's a lot of stuff in the book about every time you go on a mission, setting up stakes and setting stuff that makes it personal to the Spark, so that they're not just going out and doing another murder mission, but there's a reason for it.
And so Nova's on Kickstarter right now, and it goes until July 1st?
3rd.
July 3rd, even better. See that?
It's
already fully funded.
Hours.
It's already fully funded. I mean, it funded so fast.
5 hours. Yeah, it funded in 5 hours. I could not believe that it went that fast. It's one of those things where it happened, and now I'm like, the relief of waiting is gone, and now it's just, okay, we did it. We accomplished the goal. Let's just see what we can do from here.
I have to ask, has my Necromancer Spark been unlocked yet?
It has. The Necromancer and Plague Spark stretch goal has been unlocked, so there's going to be 2 more Sparks in the full book, rounding out to 8. One is a Plague Spark, all about infecting enemies and being able to do things with those that are infected. The other is a Necromancy Spark that is all about enthralling the enemies that their fellow Sparks kill. So it's a pretty cool combo of classes that I'm very excited to make.
That's so good. I can't wait to get my copy of this. I want to play this exact story again so I can see what the hell that ship's all about. But, yeah, it was such a blast. I had such a good time.
Thank you so much.
Would you come back and play this again in the future? We'd love to have you on for a part 2.
I would love to continue this story with you all. Sign me up 100%.
And that's all for this week's episode. Thanks again to Spencer for coming on the show for an interview and to run a game for us. We had a fantastic time, and I hope you did too. If you want to get a copy of Nova for yourself and show Spencer some support, head on over to the Kickstarter link in the show notes. But don't wait, because it's wrapping up in early July. If you want to buy Lumen or Light or any of his other products, go to the itch.io link in the show notes. And if you want to support that Lumen-specific zine quest on Itch, go to the other link in the show notes. Whew, it's a lot of links, but I know you can do it. You're smart, you're capable, and treat yourself. You deserve it, right? If you want to support the Pot of Blunders, please consider heading to our Patreon page, patreon.com/potofblunders, all one word. We've got membership levels ranging from $1 to $10 a month, which will get you access to things like our Discord, exclusive episodes of Jumping the Street Sharks, as well as a variety of other perks. You can also support the show and help us bring more attention to amazing indie authors by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate any help you can give. We love hearing from you. You can always find us on Twitter at Pot of Blunders, and you can also reach us via email at potofblunders@gmail.com. Want more reviews, interviews, actual plays? Head to potofblunders.com and learn about even more amazing indie games. Thanks for listening. For the Pot of Blunders, I'm Nate Magnuski, and as always, may all your Ds be 12s.